Now, given that you are from academics and I'm representing a university and we are in a university setup, right? In the book, I saw a lot of focus on education, particularly schooling, teachers, but the whole youth dividend is here in campuses like this across the country. So what would be your thoughts on higher education, particularly because the demographic dividend is here and they are the ones who would be creating this transformation that you see in the next 25 years to happen? So what about higher education? What do you think should happen in reforms in the higher education itself?
See, Shobhit, when I look at, I think on higher education, there is good work that is happening now. I mean, if you look at the number of IITs that have basically, I was there, in IIM Nagpur a couple of days back. Many IIMs, lot more aims, many IITs. I think that's and there are wonderful universities we have, where Delhi University, or Mumbai universities, they're all actually producing very high, and we are increasing the number of, but actually, while you do represent, higher education, for me, the most important focus and the focus needs to be on school education. Higher education, of course, but in terms of prioritization, I think school education is really important. And here, as a teacher myself, that's what my first and foremost role is that of a teacher. I actually can tell you that, while a good teacher is sufficient for, good teaching outcomes, a good teacher is not necessary for good teaching outcomes. I'll say it one more time. While a good teacher is sufficient for good teaching, a good teacher is not necessary for good teaching. What do I mean? Even somebody who's actually, who's let's say, a normal kind of teacher, not an extraordinary teacher, with very good teaching material, number one. Number two, which is, manuals for pedagogical instruction. The importance of examples, if you saw, for instance, in explaining the potential of the Indian economy, I used the example of Sachin Tendulkar in 1993. The way we all learn, and this is something that I have realized myself first as a student and then as a teacher, we all learn from the concrete to the abstract. What we already know is what we use basically to learn. And that's why all good teachers use examples to basically concretize the idea and then introduce the abstract concept. This is the fundamental aspect of good teaching. So, pedagogical manuals, and I've put in the book, this triad, which is the class, the language of instruction, and the subject. For each class, each language, each subject, not only can we have very high quality teaching material, but we can also have pedagogical manuals created, and I've actually put out a full, a method how this can be generated. Because why? I'll give you the example. At Harvard Business School, you would expect that Harvard Business School teachers that come there are phenomenal. They don't need any hand holding. But even at Harvard Business School, what do? The first year is essentially a core. About 12 professors who are teaching the core, they will meet on a Friday to decide how they're going to tackle the case that is going to be done on a Monday. It is about preparation. The example they'll give, how will they basically go about explaining a particular concept, which part of the conceptual part, where do they need to slow down, where do they need to go fast, because when you are teaching, let's say you have a 1 hour class or maybe a 2 hour class, this is a very critical part of a teacher, managing the class, saying this part I need to go fadafat, and this part I need to really slow down because there are nuances involved here. These are all part of the pedagogical, manual, and good teachers actually can lay that out and put that. So, as I said, with good material, and especially using online material as well, YouTube videos, YouTube, now there are basically what you have these reels as well, using all this, good teaching can be done even by normal teachers. What we need is an effort. Here again, like the judiciary problem of judiciary, this is not insurmountable either. This is something that is easily doable. So part of my focus through this book is to highlight what we really need, because many times when we've not analyzed, the problem seems like a Himalayan one. It is not a Himalayan one. These are all, very, very surmountable problems that we all can actually attack and, and really solve. And that's the effort.